for me, the day before filming, I'm very anxious. The first day of filming, I get and I question why am I doing this? And at the end of the shoot, because it's usually very exhausting, I
Mhm.
am saying never again. But within
But
a week,
somehow you're still here.
no, but within a week, I want to do the next one. It's very addictive.
Hello, everyone. I'm Camille Lynch Griffith, Outreach Coordinator for Film Co, organizers of the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival, and we're going to have a one-on-one chat with creative and film industry folks about the art, the business, the joys, the challenges of working in the film and television industry. Our chat is sponsored by Republic Bank, and today we are live with Tony Oldham. So let me just give you a little bit. Let me give you a little bit of a background. Are you not hearing me? Hello, everyone. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of a background on Tony Oldham. He's a self-shooting producer, director who studied film at the University of West London with a love for cinematography. In 2020, he completed a research paper focusing on the role of national cinema, in particular Caribbean cinema, with case studies on Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago. His directorial debut was his Saint Lucia themed documentary, Diva-Enemy of the People, which was featured in Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival 2016. So let me see if I can get Tony online and we could just have like a quick chat on why he decided to be a filmmaker.
Hi, Tony. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
I am hearing you. I think people were saying that they weren't hearing, but I'm hearing you clearly. You're hearing
Okay,
me,
good.
yes?
Yeah, yeah. Happy
Okay, so how are you
Pagua.
doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Happy Pagua,
What?
by the way.
Thank you. I mean, I didn't participate. I mean, it might be a process for me to get it out of my hair and then be able to
Yeah,
come
yeah.
forward today.
Do you not put on the bag and everything? Like no?
I felt like I didn't feel like I wanted to go through that process. So I watched my friends enjoy, and they enjoyed for me.
Okay, that's good.
So let me just jump right into the questions. So my first question I like to start off with is, how would you describe yourself, a disciplined doer or a procrastinator?
It's a bit of both really, because I think when you're making films you have to be sort of disciplined. But I'm also a procrastinator, and I I kind of can procrastinate for a long time. But the good side to that is it kind of gives you time to think over the projects and so forth. But yeah, but very much a bit of both. But yeah.
Okay, so then the next question that I have for you is, what five films would you say every filmmaker should watch?
Okay, that's very difficult. So I think, funnily enough, just 2 days ago I watched The Shape of Water. I don't know if you've seen that film.
I have.
I know
Absolutely beautiful film.
a beautiful film. So that would be my first one. Um,
Mhm.
then I would say any film by the director Steve McQueen, um, because his
Yeah.
his style is kind of awesome, and he does those really long takes. Um,
Mhm.
and it's just kind of amazing to watch. So Steve McQueen, um, and then I would probably say I should put a documentary in there. So I would say something like I'm Not a Negro, because it hits all the marks of doing what for me a documentary should do, which is
Mhm.
it's kind of pushing the conversation and everything. Um, then I'm thinking also, I don't know if you know the director Lynn Ramsey.
No, I'm not
But
familiar.
again, any film by Lynn Ramsey, she makes these really kind of very stylish films, and I would just recommend her if you get the chance. And then
Mhm.
for my last film, gosh, what did I say? Oh, it's just like an old classic, The Godfather. So
Oh,
it's about 50 years old now, and I I wanted my kids to watch it and they refused, but when they finally watched it, they really loved it, and they're sort of hooked on mafia films now. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely from in the mafia, quote unquote, I don't even want to call it a genre, but as a mafia
Yeah.
film, it's one of those that you always hear about. You have to look at The Godfather, and I've watched it on numerous occasions, and it really is one of those greats that you
Yeah,
definitely go and study if you're studying.
it's just yeah, like the those any of those directors like Scorsese from that period,
Yeah.
they're just really they they were kind of that generation of auteurs that is just really engaging films, personal films. But yeah, how about yourself?
So,
What would you recommend to me in terms of a good Caribbean, in terms of your favorite maybe?
okay, I can go with television, right? Because I grew up looking at this. I would say Westwood Park. I mean, technically, you could kind of say I'm a little bit biased because Danielle Differentala is one of the directors and founders for Filmco. But I remember when Westwood Park came out, and it was like, what? You know, that was so
Yeah,
proud.
yeah, yeah.
And
And
it was
that's the
really,
thing.
really cool.
No, it is really cool, definitely. And that's the thing now for a lot of film directors is television used to be something they didn't want to do, but now you have all the big A-listers and
Yeah.
they want to be their own series creators. So I guess Netflix has kind of opened that whole thing up a little bit.
Yeah, and also too, it kind of also pertains to the style that they're using now with television. They're kind of using the cinematic look for
Yeah.
TV now as well. So I think that that's why A-listers are kind of being drawn to it. Because, you know,
I,
TV used to look very different than what it is you saw on the screen.
have you seen I May Destroy You by Michaela Cole?
I have
Yeah. So
amazing.
so I that was incredible, and all of again just it is taking filmmaking to a whole new level, and just being able to talk about a lot of those things, it was like wow, it's yeah,
Well, that's the power of film. You get the opportunity to talk about, or at least, you know, visually represent things that are kind of like taboo topics that people are uncomfortable with.
yeah, yeah,
Again, I think also with I May Destroy You, it kind of really is one of those that I feel a series that you would eventually, if you're in school, you would eventually start studying, like how
yeah.
she even came up with the concept and visually represented it. So since we're talking about school, I know you've been on an academic path for some time now, and you're also a filmmaker, which seems like a very difficult combination. How do you manage? Tell me about that.
Well, the academic thing is more recently, and it's very much a part-time thing. So
Mhm.
for me, that is really more or less it's more for a personal fulfillment. It's a hard thing to explain, but I love reading, I love learning, and so I kind of get an enormous pleasure out of that. So it's not like film is to me, but it's just something that I enjoy, and I it's another form of expression really. But yeah.
Okay. So let me just, and we're going to keep with the whole academic thing. I mean, you know, academia has like a kind of comfort, and then filmmaking is like rough and tumble. How do you decide to
Yeah,
balance these two
I mean,
things?
to be honest, with so I go between documentary and fiction. So
Hmm.
with the documentary, it always starts off with kind of a lot of research anyway. So that's
Right.
sort of not too dissimilar. And then the same thing with fiction is I write scripts, so I can happily sit at there. I'm probably at my happiest sat writing, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah, because
But
that's a creative outlet. When you're definitely writing fiction, it's like you allow your imagination to stretch. And with documentary, there's definitely a specific topic that you're looking at and
yeah.
you want to represent. So you have to do research. So I see where you're coming from with all
Well,
of that.
like with the carnival films, because
Mhm.
I mean I came to it with part knowledge, but I really did I delved into all the history of in Trinidad, and so that started off with two academic books that just went way back to the whole history of carnival in Trinidad, and it was I didn't want to be made because it was such a sensitive issue culturally. I didn't want to sort of mess it up, so I went back, did the research, and then I kind of took it from there and put my own tiny spin on it. But yeah,
Since you're talking about Carnival, obviously we know that you've made documentaries about Carnival. And I know that one of your first documentaries was about Saint Lucia Carnival, and you just mentioned Trinidad, but you haven't done a documentary about Trinidad Carnival. Why?
No, so Saint Lucia was actually is a fashion thing in Saint Lucia, but the two ones in Notting Hill, that was it was convenient, and because I have access, so when I lived in London, it was literally just down the road. So
Oh,
I never intended to make a film about Carnival, but I mean, filming at Carnival is lovely. It's a great experience, and going on
mhm.
all the trucks and everything. And so I just found it incredibly absorbing, the whole history of it, and the visual spectacle, the sounds. It was really challenging, and I loved it. But Trinidad, yes, I would love to do something on Trinidad, but the thing is, I find the it's been so well covered by Trinidadian filmmakers. It would be very hard to come in and do something different. But when I passed through Trinidad, I went to the savannah to do so I was invited to do a keep fit for before Carnival, so I did that. But unfortunately, I left before Carnival started, just because I have to go when the plane tickets is booked. And I don't know if you try getting a plane ticket from Trinidad to England that time, it's very hard because
Very
all of the
difficult.
people in the Notting Hill thing, all of them are in Trinidad. Or were,
So,
at least usually.
so let me just do a shameless plug for Trinidad Carnival right now. Because what I'm hearing is that you've never experienced Trinidad Carnival and Carnival Monday and Tuesday in Trinidad.
No.
You may feel differently if you were here of Carnival Monday and Tuesday. And you
Yeah.
may decide after that to do a documentary
No,
on Trinidad Carnival.
I would love to. I would love to, but I think that's the thing. You have so many great filmmakers there that they themselves are just knocking the carnival stuff out of the park. I don't think I could even match them, It's but yeah, I know that it will be an amazing experience. Everybody says it. Everybody says it, and it's
You need to play mass. So even if you're not coming to play, you're not coming to film or even do a documentary, you should come and play mass. Because it's a different experience. Carnival in Trinidad is where all Notting Hill Carnival, Caribana, everybody's carnival stems from us. Yes, I know Brazil is around the same time, but I'm shamelessly plugging my country. You have to experience Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago on Carnival Monday and Tuesday.
yeah.
But back to the topic at hand, which is so, as we're talking about filmmaking, obviously, what's the most joyful part of filmmaking that you like, and what's the most dreadful part?
So I love the screenwriting. I love a lot of the pre-production. For me, I get very excited by the idea, and
Mhm.
it's actually really really hard for me to try and narrow the ideas down because I'm always working on about 10 projects, not filming 10 projects, but I think you have to, because you're going to drop about 3 or 4 of the projects. So I
Or
love
it could merge, depending on the idea, you can
no,
merge.
no, but I just figure like all of the ideas that I come up with as a filmmaker, I don't think I will live long enough to be able to make, because you invest so much time in a film. It's
Mhm.
that is part of it now as well, is trying to stick with a film that
Mhm.
can make it through and perhaps make money and make it critically, but in terms of, I enjoy the editing process as well. Now, filming, I enjoy filming if I'm filming for somebody else. I find out the most enjoyable experience on camera. But for me, the day before filming, I'm very anxious. The first day of filming, I get and I question, why am I doing this? And at the end of the shoot, because it's usually very exhausting, I
Mhm.
say never again. But within
But
a week,
somehow you're still here.
no, but within a week, I want to do the next one. It's very addictive. I find filmmaking is a bit like a drug. But yeah,
I think it's a creative process. I mean, there's an adrenaline rush with the creative process. And I agree with you. The pre-production part of it, where you're coming up with the ideas, you're fleshing out the ideas, you're like, okay, these are the shots that I want to get. That part, I agree with you. Definitely, you feel like, yes, okay, I'm getting somewhere. And then when you get to the production part where you have to film, you're like, what did I get myself? What did I get myself
Yeah.
into?
And
Why am I doing this?
I mean, which part do you enjoy the most?
Oh,
Some people
you want
thrive.
the pre-production part because I like coming up with the idea. Like
Yeah,
that part, I feel like yes. Oh, I like this. I like where I'm going with this. And then when it comes to production part, you're like, oh my gosh. And then
yeah,
post production, I'm like, no, I'm dead. I'm dead. But then you're waiting. As soon as you're finished with it, you're like, okay, what's the next project I have to
yeah,
work on? Or what's the next thing that I want to do to just keep on pushing myself forward and then pushing that creativity and allowing my imagination to go.
yeah.
But you mentioned money, and I know that you self-fund your projects. Why do you use this approach?
Well, it's not actually my preference. I always apply for funding. I always
Mhm.
like in the last year alone, I pitched to TV channels. I put in applications for funding. But with all these things is it's like just down the road from where I live, they have Sheffield Documentary. That's one of the top maybe 10 in the world for documentary. But they maybe have pitches which can come from anywhere in the world. They could come from the Caribbean. Um, they maybe have about 400 teams pitch. No, no. So when I say pitch, they put in an application, and of those, they will always select maybe about 60.
Yeah.
Now of those 60 projects, maybe about 10 or 15 will maybe make it through to production. So you're kind of get yourself trapped into this finance thing. If you're lucky to get money, I would jump and take that, but I've never been fortunate enough really to have the funding. I have a friend that 25 years ago he did his first short funded, and he always said he will never make a film without funding, but he's never made a film since. So
Wow.
it's I'm very much with a documentary. If you have a camera, and I appreciate having a camera, it costs money, and it's not something that is necessarily accessible to everybody. But if you have a
Mhm.
camera, you can pretty much documentaries. There's no bar to making a film other than access. Fiction, yeah, that's slightly different, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fiction. I think a lot of people don't understand how much it costs to do
Yeah.
a fiction. Like, when you hear Hollywood talk about, yeah, it cost 230 million to make this film, and then people are looking at it like, oh, costumes, set design, you need to pay your talent, you need to pay for the graphics. All of those things add up.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how expensive it really is to make a movie. You just think that, oh well, you just picked up a camera one day and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna shoot. No, it's not like
Yeah,
that.
I mean that's the thing is you guys make your films on top spec cameras, which surprised me actually because you're making the films on reasonable budgets for that type of film, whereas it's not unusual here for people to make their feature films on say a DSLR camera, which is it's like a $500 camera. And obviously
Mhm.
now people are making films on iPhones and what have
Yeah,
you. So I don't know if
yeah.
you've seen films like Tangerine and Soderbergh's made one, and I'm kind of tempted. I kind of want to have a go at making a film on an iPhone because I think it would be a good discipline.
Why specifically iPhone though? What happened to
Not
Samsung?
iPhone, no, Samsung, any of these. I'm not advertising. You're not sponsored by anyone, are you? Yeah,
Only Republic Bank responsible.
yeah. No,
Republic Bank,
if
but not
Republic Bank
iPhone, not
make phones, I
Samsung.
would make it on a Republic Bank phone. But yeah, it's
Okay, so you were just mentioning self-shooting. Tell us about self-shooting a documentary as a filmmaker. That seems like a lot to juggle. How do you even get that done?
Yeah, it is something that it's almost like a requirement on TV now. So 10 years ago, um
Hmm.
people making TV where they would have their cameraman, their sound man, their director, producer. But it's almost, I think when reality TV came in, um
Yeah.
it became almost a requirement on British TV. I don't know how it is in Trinidad, but on British TV, it's almost like a researcher now. They will operate a camera, they'll record sound, and it's because the budget's reduced that basically the filmmaker had to adapt. Um, on a good note, like I say, it enables me to just go out and make a whole documentary without the needs for a whole crew. Um, but yeah, I would love the to bring in camera, sound, etc. But it's again, it's cost, and as soon as you bring in all these people, you're suddenly taking something that's a few thousand, and your budget is going to be 10, 20,000. So it's
Yeah, I
that's
think
it.
here in Trinidad, most times you have the filmmaker would be holding multiple hats. They're the
Yeah,
writer, they're the producer, they're the cameraman, they're the editor, they're everything. Because in Trinidad, you know, obviously our industry is not as formal as it would be, let's say, in England or even in the States. So you kind of end up holding a lot of those
yeah.
hats. And the fact that we even have content is just amazing because I know that's a lot of work for one person. So as this is why when I ask a question about self-shooting as a doing documentaries, that's a lot of work because you're also interviewing the person depending
Yeah.
on how the information is. You're doing your research, you're the cameraman, you're the editor. It's a lot. Again, this goes back to people not really understanding how much it takes in order to create.
It, it's
So
it's the
uh-huh.
preparation as well because you're
Yeah.
carrying the lens. You know which lenses to reach for. You know where
Mhm.
your batteries are when your batteries go, and it's kind of preparation. And I guess you become disciplined shooting. Like when I'm filming at Carnival, I can't hear the sound on the headphones. I can't hear the sound, so I get to see it visually, so I know when it's peaking. And so I just watch the audio, and I have it turned down quite low, so it because I think I recorded Carnival one year, and you know when you get it wrong, it's just a like a really bad sound. So
Mhm.
yeah, I kind of learned to just do that visually now.
Well, yeah, that's over time that you definitely learn that skill. So,
And I
so
work
what is
and I
the
work on
difference between,
and I work on
uh-huh.
two mics on the top of camera as well. So I'm recording at different levels and that type of thing.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
At least some mic will catch some sound for you.
No, because a lot of people record the sound onto two tracks. So I just I've got two tracks. I use two tracks. But yeah,
Right. So as we're talking about, tell us the difference between making a documentary versus making a narrative, because I know you have done a narrative film and then you
yeah,
just
yeah.
mentioned that you write as well. So
Um,
what's like the
so
main difference for you?
so for documentary is unlike a narrative where you go in with a script and you can pretty much plan out everything um, from day one. With a documentary, you have a template for the idea, so you have a kind of narrative arc, but obviously it can change as you're filming it. So you're kind of adapting as you film. Um, More opportunity for creativity. Um,
Hmm.
and I once remember somebody saying it like documentary is the true filmmaker's kind of medium. But I love narrative, but with narrative um, is just incredibly disciplined. So you're going in there, and from the start of the day, very obviously very long days, and you have everything planned out. So you're maybe doing three scenes from different parts of the script all on the same day, and just very disciplined, very just a different kind of thing. I love being a DOP for for other people, and so I love that because it's just one hat I'm wearing. But yeah, when you're
Right.
when you're wearing all of the hats, you're worried about when people eat and all that kind of thing. It's
Yeah, that is true. And you have to take that in consideration because I don't think you want anybody to drop down on your set.
yeah, no, it's one of the first lessons we learn is everybody must eat properly because
Mhm.
otherwise productivity just kind of drops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it does. It really does. So just kind of going back once again, to just I know you're getting your PhD, right?
I know it's a long-term thing, so I hope I get it, but I'm kind of at the midpoint journey. Yeah.
So while you're on that journey, where would you like to see your filmmaking career go?
Um, I guess all of us want our films to be critically successful. And I guess
Mhm.
to reach that level where you are getting the funding because it becomes a very sustaining practice and very financially comfortable. And so I think we all kind of want that at the end of the day is first of all, to make a good living. And then you want your films to make a difference, really. So I'm always looking at the next project, and it's just a question of finding the one that breaks, breaks the mold, really.
So, do you prefer doing documentaries or you prefer doing fiction or narrative?
Um, I can't really answer that, because I was trying to think of that, and I take pleasures in both of them, and I find actually fiction probably has more chance of success if you get the formula right at the
Mhm.
start. Um, so documentary, I enjoy it. I just know that people tend to watch documentary less, I think. Um, I don't know it. So I worry that the very serious projects, especially that maybe they find less of an audience. That's one of my concerns with film is I think depending on what type of filmmaker you are, you hope your films will make a difference or start a conversation. So um, that is my main aim is to, I guess, to make. We were talking about the film by I forget her name, but what is it called? I May Destroy You, and like
Right.
that you know that just started off conversations everywhere. So
It
that
did.
would be that would be the gold is to make something like that.
So, what's next for you in the film arena?
So I was supposed to DOP on a film last year, which keeps getting pushed back. So hopefully
Because of COVID?
shortly. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And I wanted to make a film in Guyana. The more again, this is a procrastinating thing. The more I've thought, the more I've thought about it, I'm thinking is that just going to be another few years of my life for a film that people may or may not want to watch? So it is a big investment of time. So I think I'm going to think very carefully and try. Actually, I want to go back and make some fiction shorts and just really
Mhm.
take my time to do them nice and slow because I'm
Um,
it's never too late to keep learning and to keep,
no.
improving.
I agree with you, definitely. I know for me, jumping into the film arena was not something that I had initially thought I would have done or even have an opportunity to do. But you know how you have things that kind of like nag you and it pulls you and it says, you need to walk down this path, and I finally
Yeah, yeah.
have, and I'm happy with where I'm at and in this beginning process. And it's like everything is new, so you're learning and you're like excited about that. So thank you
And how
so
about you?
much.
What do you want to do next?
Well, I'm actually going to write my first script, and I am scared. That's where I'm at. I'm scared, but I'm also willing to go forward
As
and
as
see
a
where
as
it
a
takes me.
writer director or as a writer?
Let me start with writing.
Mhm.
I'll see how I feel about directing.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Tony, for joining me.
No, thank you for
Lang
inviting me.
live.
Thank
It
you very
goes
much.
really quickly.
It does, it does. I hope he was okay, but thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It was really, really good. And I just have to mention again for the audience that it was sponsored by Republic Bank and that we won't have any Live and Live next week because, of course, obviously it's Easter Monday. But we'll be back here on the 12th of April with Juliet McCrawley. I don't know, have you met Juliet McCrawley? Tony, have you?
I don't know. Probably not. But yeah.
If- Well, then you have to tune in
No,
on that Monday, on the 12th, to
sounds
check
good.
her
Sounds
out.
good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You
So
take
thank you
care.
so much, Tony. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye bye.